Welcome to episode 2 of Just Run with me and Nathan. For anybody who tuned into the first episode last week, thank you so much. We've had loads of good feedback and we thoroughly enjoyed it. This week's going to be an exciting one. We've got Jenn Humphries on here, who is an ultra beast runner. Not a beast, an ultra runner. Sounded wrong, you know what I mean. And she's an ultra coach. So we're going to get some really good advice from her. And pleased to say that she'll be on the show every month as well, giving a bit of advice. So yeah, tune in, have a listen, and let's have a laugh. Let's go. From there, really. I mean, Nath, you jump in. Anything you want to say to start it off?
Yeah, so I first met Jenn back in October at It's Why We Run down in Pembroke. And the first time I actually met Jenn, I was having my dinner in the evening, and I just looked to my right, and Jenn pretty much had a leg over her head on the floor, stretching. I nearly choked on my bloody food at the time. She was that like flexible. She could probably get her head under her knee in a deep forward lunge. It was just crazy. But yeah, it was like bloody hell, Jenn.
Wait there. I need some context here. So you were having your dinner.
Yeah.
And you looked over and saw Jenn with her head. First of all, where were you having dinner? Were you sat in a restaurant, like a normal restaurant, like Nando's, and you turn around and she's in the corner stretching, or we need some context there, mate?
So at the event, we had like a communal area where we had loads of tables to eat our food. We had like a lounge area with sofas, and then a stretching area off to the right. And Jenn was off to the right in the stretching area on her own. Yeah, and she was in a deep forward lunge, but she was that like flexible. Her head was almost tucked in under her knee. It was just nuts.
Fair enough, Jenn. I mean, first, that's a lovely introduction. That you're basically a contortionist. Let's kick off, first of all, for anybody who doesn't know anything about Jenn Humphries. This is the first time I've actually met her. And yeah, let's have a little word from you, Jenn. Tell us about yourself. Tell us about your journey, how you got into ultra running. And yeah, tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm very happy to. I love that introduction for me. I was trying to, when you said about the funny story that we met, I remember being there when you were having your dinner. And I remember my memory of it is just being like, it was basically just me and Nathan in this big room. And we'd both kind of snuck off to be by ourselves in what was quite an overwhelming situation where you're kind of thrust in with everyone. You're about to run 250K. And I'd kind of snuck off of some peace, and Nathan done the same. And I'd completely forgotten that was what I was doing when we had that first meeting. That reminds me that I need to do some work and maybe do some more stretching, because I don't think I can do that anymore. But I love that. I now can remember that as clear as day. But yeah, by way of intro, so yeah, I'm Jenn. I am an ultra runner and a recently qualified ultra coach. I got my qualification in December after months, kind of quite a long time of deciding whether to do it and then just taking the plunge, largely because of the result of people like Nathan who have encouraged me along the way, even having not known me for very long. So I'm incredibly grateful for that. In terms of my running journey, it's a bit cookie cutter in the sense that it really did start in COVID, but there is sort of a moment a couple of months before. So there's a very vivid moment where my brother was the runner of the family. He probably wouldn't like me now saying that I am, but he was the runner of the family. And we went on a family holiday and we were in America. It was the February before COVID, and he was like, let's go on a run. And I literally thought I was going to die. Like, we went for 15 minutes and I couldn't breathe. I was like hyperventilating. I was a puddle of sweat. And I got home and my mum and dad looked at me and my brother was like fresh and bouncy. And I was like purple in the face, like genuinely dying on the inside. And I remember at the time I was kind of just like laughed it off. And I was like, oh yeah, classic. He's the runner of the family. But it really kind of stuck with me because I was like, at the time I would have been 20, I'm about to turn 28. I don't even know, 23. And I remember just thinking like, that's not right. Like at the time I was really big into lifting weights. I was going to the gym a lot. So I was like, I should be fit. And I remember just feeling very unfit. And I kind of had this feeling of like, if I ever had to run away from a situation, if I ever had to run for a bus, if I had to do any of these things, then I would honestly keel over. And and then COVID was starting to become a thing, and everyone was sort of talking about respiratory and lungs. And I was thinking, this ain't right. I then got what I now realize was COVID, and was quite unwell before we kind of knew COVID was COVID, had this really hacking cough for ages. And then lockdown happened. And I kind of got better, and I just went, if I'm going to do it, now's the time I'm going to do it. Basically, I've got nothing else to do. I'm back at home with my parents, and I need to be able to get out the house on my own for 20 minutes a day. And that's just kind of where it began. It began with the classic 5 to 5K on Instagram and Facebook that took off everywhere. And I literally was running a lap of a field by my house that was probably 400 meters, and I literally would just run 1 lap one day, 2 laps another day, and I just kept doing it until I could comfortably run 5K. And then I remember really vividly, it was Easter Sunday, the sun was shining, I'd eaten my body weight in Easter eggs, and I was like, I'm just going to go see how far I can run today. And I hit 5 miles, and I just remember suddenly being like, I get it. I think I finally get it. Like, I went home, I was so happy. I had this like feeling in my stomach, and I just wanted to kind of scream to all my family that I'd done it. And it really was that moment where I was like, I understand why people enjoy this. Because up to then, I'd hated basically every moment and was just pretending to enjoy it because everyone else was on Strava. So it was only then that I decided that I finally got it. And then I kind of just to be honest, I just ran for fun then for 2 years, like 2020, 21. I just ran for fun. I didn't really know what else to run for. I didn't have a structure. I didn't have a plan. I kind of didn't intend to ever run any races. I was basically like, when lockdown ends, I'll probably stop doing this. I'll just go back to the gym. And I was convinced that that would just be it. I'd just run for a couple of years, and I would run out of steam, and I'd get bored, and I'd just go back to the gym. And then late 2021, I was kind of following like an influencer workout program like everybody else. I was checking in for my live workouts, and she did a running program, and it was the first time I ever really stuck to anything. So I was like, up until then, I'd done no interval training. I did 2 years of just going out and just running what I would now call like an easy run. Didn't even know what interval training was. And then suddenly started doing it and actually realizing the benefit and being like, oh, I can get faster, and this is actually quite satisfying. And the competition kind of came. I finally got why people were maybe competing a bit on Strava, and it kind of like that buzz began. And then at the same time, my ex-boyfriend's gran was kind of getting worsening conditions of Alzheimer's. I'd lost my own grandma with Alzheimer's, and kind of all the narrative around care homes and COVID, it was all kind of coming at this same time. And I was kind of getting bubbled up with this feeling of then wanting a purpose. COVID was coming to an end. I was a bit purposeless. And that's when I just went, yeah, okay, I'm going to run a marathon. I'm going to do it. If I'm not going to do it now, I might never do it. And so I rang Alzheimer's Research, asked for a place in London Marathon, and that was it. Kind of locked in, had to do it. But as anyone knows who's run London Marathon for a charity, £2,000 is the fundraising target, and it is a lot of money. And I was like, how the hell am I going to get anyone to fundraise to kind of give me the charity money for something that they know I already enjoy? And I think that's the thing with fundraising, right? You're like, give me money for something I would have kind of wanted to do anyway. So I was like, I'll do another one. So we'll do 2 marathons. It's 2022. We'll do 2 marathons. It's also my 26th birthday. So it's 26.2 for 26 years. Let's just do it. And then so I signed up to a trail marathon, which was Race to the Tower in the Cotswolds. And that was then due to be about 3 months before London Marathon. And then training for that, I just loved. Like, that's when the trails opened up. I'm very fortunate to be living in the Cotswolds. I was like running along the Cotswold Way. And I remember just thinking, I've been running on the roads for 2 years. How have I only just discovered this? Like, this is so much better. And then I did the trail marathon, and I honestly just loved it. Like, it was the best day, like walking the hills, meeting people. Like this one guy, Ed, who I speak with really regularly now. I met him 3K in and we ran the whole thing together. Like we just chatted and talked. I knew his whole life story by the time I got to the finish line and he knew mine. And it was just amazing, like complete strangers. And then we spent what, 5 whatever hours just together. And then I ran London Marathon 3 months later, which was amazing because the purpose of Alzheimer's and London Marathon is iconic. And I remember finishing and being like, that was amazing. I'm never running a road marathon ever again. Because trail running had just like exceeded it in every which way possible.
Do you mind if I jump in there, actually? Just
Yeah.
with regards to that, I've heard that a bit as well, actually, and I think I can echo that. So road running, and nothing against anybody who does road running or marathons or road marathons, but yeah, I've read into that quite a lot as well. So I feel like trail marathons and stuff like that and ultras and what have you, although the distance is great there and they can be somewhat more challenging because of the hills and elevation and everything, I don't feel like, do you think the big part of that is the mindset? Because like you said, you met that guy called Ed, and we've, you know, me and Nathan have met through trail running. You're not watching your watch all the whole time. You're not looking at your pace and your splits. You run, as you said previously, for fun. And you're taking in the views and you're enjoying it. Whereas the mindset with marathon runners, for me, and again, each to their own. I full respect for anybody who runs marathons, road or otherwise. But I feel like they're on that start line and they need to get that finish line as quick as they can. So they're watching their watch, they're trying to stick to the heart rate zones. And I think part of the reason that, correct me if I'm wrong, you probably didn't enjoy it as much is because it was the pressure of just doing it, getting to the finish line, never really took much in. You probably don't remember much of it. It was just as fast as you could, getting a PB done. Is that right? Is that something that rings true with you? Or?
Yeah, completely. And I think maybe if I'd done London Marathon without having done the trail one first, my experience would have been different because I wouldn't have anything to compare it to. But like they are so different, road marathons and ultras. They are so, so different. And I think that's why often when I'm running an ultra and I have someone next to me that's like, oh, I've never done this before, but I've run road marathons, I'm a bit like, you're in for a ride, pal, because they are completely different in the same way that I, after a year of trail running, would turn up to the start line of London Marathon and be like, oh, this is different. Because road running is hard. Like running a road marathon, I can't even, the first time I ran London Marathon, I barely can remember the last 6 miles. Like I was in pieces. I hadn't fueled properly. My legs were burning. Like I don't, but it's like you said, I basically knew when I went out that day that I wanted a time and I was going to get it and I was going to bust my ass to get it. And I think there's a real resilience. Like road marathon runners are some of the strongest people I know because their sheer determination to get that time is incredible. And I remember thinking like my legs are on fire, but I want that time, so I will push through it. So there's a type of, it's a different kind of resilience, whereas ultra running for me is like, keep moving, keep going, one foot in front of the other for a longer period of time. And I think there's a more management technique to ultra running and like the way you eat and the way you walk. It kind of weirdly uses more of, I thought a lot more. I thought a lot less doing London. I was like, just run forwards, have a gel at half an hour. You're not going to have time to eat anything else. Just keep going, keep going. Whereas with ultra running, I'm like, what am I going to eat? I'm going to have a proper snack, or I'm going to walk on this hill, or there's just a thought process to it that's different, which is why I think the time goes so much quicker when you're ultra running, because your mind's a bit busier thinking about kind of your tactics and how to kind of manage the time. So yeah, but for me it's community, and my community is trail running community. They're like, it's the people I'm just like naturally drawn to. There's nothing to say that the road running community wouldn't be, but it's just, you know, when you go road running community, I tend to feel like they're like big sessions, track sessions, which are amazing for the people that love those. I would rather be on Box Hill splashing around in the mud. So it's just, you know, it's your tribe, right? Yeah.
That's a good point as well. Like you said, I mean, some of these ultras you're running 10 hours plus. I mean, obviously you and Nathan did this amazing Wiry Run journey that you did together, which we'll come back to. But when you're running for 10 hours plus, there's no way I mean, you can run it by yourself if you're elite right at the front or right at the back or whatever it might be. But ultimately, you're in that together with, you'll find somebody that you'll team up with, like that fella Ed you met. And we've all got our own little stories about that, I'm sure. And for 10 hours, you kind of enjoy it together, or you suffer together, bit of both. Whereas on a marathon, you might see somebody fleetingly, but they're bolting past you on a road race. And again, nothing but respect for them. But yeah, you're right. I think it's more of a community feeling as well, whilst you're taking part, as well as before and after that. But yeah, they might argue differently, but that's from my experience, and by the sound of it, you have the same. So
yeah, I think that's why you get those beautiful moments in road marathons when you see someone stop to carry someone over the line, because I think they get the gravitas they do, because that's not a practice you're used to seeing in road running, just because of the more like competitive nature of it. So when you see those clips of someone carrying someone over a line that's about to pass out, and you see it at the back, so like if you see it in the people that are running it slower, that sense of camaraderie and togetherness is what you get in trail running. So I think if you are a road runner and you want to make sure, and that camaraderie bit you're like finding harder to seek or like to find, it's like finding those pockets of road runners who are really about that. I just think it comes a bit more naturally in trail running, because it's a bit awkward, quite frankly, if you're all stood on a hill walking up the same hill and no one speaks to each other. I've been in that situation before in a race where there's like 5 of you and you're all walking up the same hill at the same pace, but no one's talking. It just feels weird.
yeah,
I think you're kind of forced to speak to each other in those situations. Whereas it's not as easy to kind of flip to the person beside you when you're trying to kind of hit 5-minute Ks or whatever it is.
it's a couple of those moments I've had on those hills where, in the 50 miler that me and Nath did with Pegasus, there was a couple of moments when we were on the top of the hill and the rain was coming in sideways, the wind was horrendous. My watch was playing up, and so I had no choice but to stick with the 2 people who were quite far in front of me. So I was pushing myself to try and keep up with them, even though I was really struggling with my chest. And there's a few moments there where a few of us had our heads down and weren't talking, and it was kind of, to accept that, cool, that's what we're doing for the next few minutes or wherever, or half an hour, just to get in and out of that pain cave and just get through it. But for the majority of it, you're always got that one person who'll be like, "You're right, man," and just, "Do you want a snack or something?" And then it just opens back up again. You're like, "Oh shit, yeah, we're in this together." So
yeah, it's the best.
Jenn, what was your time then in the marathons, like each one, the trail and the road?
I think the trail was, oh God, what was it? I want to say about 4:53 for the trail and 3:45 for London.
well,
Yeah.
I told you she was good.
yeah, that is good. Honestly, I've done a few marathons. The first ever marathon I ever did, I did myself. It was unofficial. I just ran from where I live in Cardiff up to Newport and all the way back. I did it.
Impressive.
It sucked. It absolutely sucked. I did that in about 3:47, something like that. I think, I can't remember, but I felt absolutely great until about 20 miles, something like that, like you said. Then the 6 miles. Funny story though, it didn't help that I ran into a signpost. But when I say signpost, I mean, so like the speed signs. There was a big square sign with like 20 miles per hour in it.
Oh my God.
And some local twat had like released the screw on it and it dropped. And so as I was running, like I had about 4 miles left, I was in a bit of a pain zone. And luckily I had a hat on with my peak forward because I'd been wearing it backwards, but the sun had come out. So I pulled it forward. And as I ran past, I ran straight into this sign, and it spanned like in one of those comedy bloody.
Oh no!
It bounced off my peak and scraped my ear and my head. But I mean, yeah. Anyway, that's a funny story. Never mind. But anyway, yeah.
Well done, though. Going out and chopping that time on your own on your first marathon is wildly impressive. So I hope that, regardless of the funny story, you're pretty proud of that.
It was horrible. Have you ever done a road marathon, Nath?
No, never.
You're doing Newport, don't you?
I'm like, hell, no chance. Couldn't think of anything worse.
Nothing wrong with Newport.
People want to run around Newport.
Yeah, watch what you're saying. That's my roots.
Oh, it's a shithole.
And did you know what? I'm from there, and it is. It's a massive shame what it's turned out like. And Yeah, it's just, it used to be the place to be when I was growing up, but it's a shame. Anyway, we won't go down that route. But um, just to talk about something I touched on earlier on, though, unfortunately, I'd love to say I was part of this, but I'm not. But you two did an incredible adventure that took part in an incredible adventure that we slightly touched on in the first episode. But I want you two to talk about it more because it's an amazing run, something that I want to take part in on the next event. And you're wearing the t-shirt there, Nathan, actually, while we run, I can see. So
Yeah, we should have coordinated, Nathan. I should have worn mine.
I thought you did it with the launch on Friday.
Yeah, exciting.
That's so talk about, I'm assuming you had the same similar kind of thing as Nath, where you applied, Jen, and got this very mysterious envelope in the post saying you're in. And then talk to us a little bit about that. So how was that?
I mean, yeah, so same application process. So I've been Lewis Robling, who founded Why We Run, has been my coach. I've been with him since deciding to do my first ultra, which was December last year. So 2022 was when I finally reached out to Lewis about kind of entering the space. And yeah, he got in touch. Well, he didn't get in touch with me, but I knew that it was happening the whole time. And I kind of was convinced that I probably wouldn't be able to do it. I'd only just started running ultras that year. And I was like, there's no way I'm running it too. It's like, it was not even on my radar. Like my radar for last year was a 50. Come January, I was like, I'm doing a 50K in April and that's it. I might never run an ultra again. I might hate it. Like it just wasn't even in my vocabulary to think about running a 250K. But as the year went on, Lewis did his work like he always does. And I knew about Why We Run 1 and it just looked incredible. And I should say the reason that I decided I could do it is because I had done a 110 a few months before. Like I knew I was physically kind of fit and able to do it. And I think it's always just really important to caveat that because 250K is a long way. And I think where we are now is lots of people might think that, you can just jump into 250K. You absolutely cannot and should not. But so the reason I kind of really was excited to do it is because I knew I had the training. And the event is it's magic. Like it's absolutely everything I love about this game. It makes me so excited to talk about it. Exceptionally now because I'm now involved with it and that's what my coaching will be through. So I'm just as more bought into it than ever, without sounding too biased. But it just brings together a spirit of trail running that I think is joy in its purest form. And I'm sure Nathan can probably agree. My face hurt by the time I got home. I'd been smiling so much. And it probably hasn't hurt that much since.
Yeah, for me, every time I sort of start talking about it and trying to explain to someone the what it was like, you kind of start tearing up because it takes you back to those last couple of days and there was really special things happening with everyone. It was just crazy, and I just hope the documentary brings that across because it was a very special event.
Yeah.
I tell you, listening to you both now, again, I'm incredibly flipping jealous. Just when you were talking then, Jen, the smile on your face, my face was hurting smiling with you. For anybody who watches this when it comes out, like the actual video, you'll see that I'm smiling like a Cheshire cat, and so is Jen, and it's contagious. It clearly is, and everything that Nathan has spoken about. Like I've been on a few runs with him since that. I went on a few runs with him in the lead up to it when he was shitting his pants, thinking similar thoughts to you that he couldn't do it. But then since that, he's just, every time he talks to me about it, it just makes me want to do it more and more. And I went to that Bigmoose evening when Lewis was there, and
I was there.
With him. Yeah. Were you there?
We were obviously sat in the same room, but we didn't know who each other were. Love that.
Were you actually there? Oh, that's mad. Yeah. I came along. I came along because I didn't know many of the people there or any other really people other than Nate. So I wanted to come along, and what an incredible, inspiring evening. And it turns out I actually know some of Lewis's family as well. So it's crazy.
But anyway, from your ends.
Yeah, but yeah, that was obviously, I digress, but it's all linked, isn't it? So that's amazing, and yeah, I got to get involved in that next one. I cannot wait for this documentary, and I know that they'll it's never gonna kind of capture
Yeah.
everything, but I hope that it gives a snapshot of it because I'm really excited to see it. So, are you going down to it, Jen?
Yeah, I'll be there. I am very smugly, I literally live 2 minutes away from where it's happening. Probably because I had some say in where the venue was, so I selfishly chose something super close to where I live. But yeah, I mean, I can't wait. I've seen snippets. I can't wait to watch the other runners see it, and to see how people respond to it. I think it tells a beautiful story, not just about the race. I mean, it's not a race. It tells a beautiful story about the event and about the people at it, but it also just tells an amazing story around why everyone that was there to begin with, and kind of the strong relationship that everyone had with Bigmoose. And I think even the people that came to Why We Run not knowing much about Bigmoose, the impact that then they felt towards Bigmoose even after 5 days of learning about them and kind of putting themselves through it for 5 days. I think the documentary tells a really beautiful tale of that. And yeah, I'm very excited to show it to people and to try and explain to people that that's just a nugget. Like that's like an hour of 5 days. So if you kind of can bottle up the however you feel when you watch that documentary and try and times it by 5 days worth of feelings, and like get your own experience of that finish line and that sense of camaraderie that happens at every finish line on every single day. And I think that's the biggest takeaway for me, is that whenever I've done events in the past, like you wait for this big finish line right at the end when you go and you get your medal, and it's like this huge sense of pride and incredible, sometimes amazing, sometimes not. But what is amazing about Why We Run is you get that every day for 5 days. So I remember when I finished the final finish line on the 5th day, I was like, oh, like, but then you realize that you've just been living on this plane of like, this is so amazing that actually, like, you don't think it can get any better. So when I finished for the final time, I was almost disappointed. Like, I remember thinking, that's the last time I get to do that. And I've been gotten so used to doing that for 5 days. I want to do it for 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 10. It's not going to be the same when I walk in from work. There's no big yellow or orange arch waiting for me there. But like, I mean, Nathan can tell the story so much better than I can, because Nathan got to experience it on a whole different plane, and I got to experience watching Nathan come through it and seeing that feeling on his face. But like, I can hear the cowbells, like I hear them now, even 3-4 months later. And it's just amazing to watch people who have no idea about each other 5 days before line up at 7 o'clock in the evening with ringing the cowbells and their phone torches and the music playing, and all they want to do is see that last person come over the finish line. Like, no one was going to bed until everybody was home and safe. And for me, that's the heart of Why We Run.
Yeah, community. I mean, just for anybody who I know we touched on this in the first episode, and we've just talked about it then. If anybody actually wants to watch this documentary, do you guys want to say a little bit more about how they can find it, where it is, with the link? I'm sure Nathan, do me a favor, Nathan, obviously caption it in this as well. We'll put it in this if anybody wants to watch it. But correct me if I'm wrong, it comes out Friday. But if you want to say where they can find it.
They got a premiere in a venue on Friday, but it actually launches on YouTube on Saturday at 6 p.m. I'll put all the links in the descriptions and our profile and stuff. But you can also go to It's Why We Run on Instagram to find it.
There you go. So if you're anything like me, I'm buzzing to see it, and I cannot wait.
With the finish, though, we're not moving on yet. I got loads to say.
Oh, go on.
Because like on my last day, I struggled because my calves were just cramping up. So it was a very long day for me. But I knew there was other people struggling as well with a few injuries, and they were just like slightly ahead of me. And those cowbells you could hear from about like 5 miles away along the coast. You could hear the cheers and everything, the music. So every time like a cowbell would be going, you know that someone would be finishing. And you'd have so much pride thinking, oh yeah, so and so, they've just finished. Oh, well done on them. And that was more rewarding than finishing yourself. It was just odd. But when I was just about to finish and come up the final hill for the last time, I had to take a minute on a rock and just enjoy the view, because I knew that I wouldn't be seeing that again for the next, well, forever probably, because it was such a race, a lifetime event. That would I be doing it again? I don't know. But yeah, so I just sat on a rock for about 10 minutes, just enjoying the view and sort of like contemplating sort of like what I just had done and what everyone else has just done. Because I think it was Lewis's mum and stepdad actually met me at the bottom. I said, look, please, can I just have 5 minutes? I know you've come down to like walk me up, but I just need 5 minutes alone. I felt quite rude, sort of like shooing.
Meanwhile, everyone's waiting for him, ringing like this until their arms feel like they're going to fall off.
I was going to say, it's all well and good, Nick, but it's a little bit selfish, actually. All those poor buggers wanted to get home, and here they're going, oh my God, when is he coming up that hill?
Well, I think Liam said, we seen you go past, but then he was like, ages before you come up the hill, what were you doing? We thought you chucked yourself off a cliff. I was like, no. I thought, I haven't run that far just to jump off straight at the end. But yeah, it was just stunning. And then to come up the hill and have everyone there, the music playing, it was emotional. And then obviously my brother was there, who over the course of the week was just awesome. He couldn't do enough for us. It was just nuts. Yeah, awesome. It was just stunning way to finish. And I just soaked up every minute, because I was just grateful for what we've all just achieved. It was just amazing.
It's amazing. I'm genuinely jealous. I really am. And like I said, I spoke to Lewis about it at length, and I want to do something with it with you guys when we do this next, when they do the next, or whatever they put on next. But with that race, actually, Jen, something me and you spoke about before we've come on before we came on here. Sorry, was your mindset on running, which I absolutely loved. And I wanted you to talk about that a bit more, because I think whether you've run for 20 years or 20 days, I think what you've said, especially for people who are considering getting into the ultra world, your mindset and stuff is amazing. Do you want to delve into that just for anybody listening? Because I just think it's awesome.
Yeah, I definitely can. I think I've become I think Why We Run, I was sort of known for this during the week, because I sort of banged on about it to basically anyone that would listen, and that would kind of include screaming it at people when we crossed them at gates, and Nathan was probably the recipient of it a number of times. But I think, and the reason I love Why We Run so much is, for me, ultra running is like really based around joy and happiness and peace. And I think that the narrative around ultra running is so fascinating, and so many people have completely different takes on it, which is what makes it so interesting. But for me, kind of coming into it back in April, and when I look back at the journey of kind of getting into ultra running, when I first started out, it was really from like a narrative of pain and like suffering, and using ultra running, and I should say kind of any endurance sport, as a source of like getting over difficulty, or kind of going to that, we all love Courtney Devalta. She is an absolute hero, but she coined Pain Cave. And I think if you actually listen to her speak about the Pain Cave, it's quite different to how people have taken it and run with it. So she talks about using the Pain Cave as a tool for the times that she needs it. Whereas more broadly, I often find the narrative around ultra running is that we should like live in the pain cave, and that a whole race should be hard, and we should do ultra running to kind of show that you can do things when times are difficult. And I don't disagree with any of that. I think the pain cave has a place. I think seeing a runner's suffering has a place. I think taking times of difficulty and hardship and anger, running that out, has a place. So I don't disagree with any of it. But for me, I'm not satisfied with a run unless it had joy in it, and unless I spent most of that run focusing on all the bits about that run that brought me joy and made me happy. And I think that for me is because pain while running is inevitable. when you sign up to run 50k, you are not going to run 50k without some pain along the way, whether that be mild pain or severe pain. Hopefully it's severe pain, you're dropping out and you've got an injury and you need to rest and try again. But at some point during your running journey, there will be pain. It's just an inevitable part of running, especially a race. So I often think, if you finish a race and you haven't been in pain, then great. But there's probably going to be some along the way, just a niggle or something. Or there's going to have been a moment where you thought, this is really bloody hard. And then you push through it. What isn't inevitable in a race is joy. And that's because I think you have to welcome that in. You have to take a deep breath and you have to look around you and you have to really feel it. And you have to look for that feeling of look what I'm doing. I should be so proud of myself, and soak in the community feeling that is around you. Look at the view, and that's where joy comes from. And there's a day in Why We Run, day 3, 60k, longest day. It's supposed to be the worst day. Everyone says it's going to be the worst day. I woke up, everything was hurting, hadn't slept, and I was like, this is going to be shit. I was like, this is going to be a long, painful day. And I remember within the first 5k, I'd already decided to myself I was going to change it halfway. So I do this thing, if I've got a really long run, I knew I was going to run 30k, full outfit change, and go out for another 30k. So in my head, I'd already told myself it was 2 runs, not 1. But I remember the first 5k being like, this is going to be horrible. I was kind of quite emotional. The fatigue really kicks in on day 3 of a 5-dayer. You start to doubt your ability. You've got further to go than you've gone already. And then I remember looking over the cliff, and it was a dreary day. The weather was rubbish. So that wasn't even on our side. But I don't know what happened, just ran over the headland on this first 5k, and I was on my own, and I put some music in, and suddenly I just felt literally I was floating. It was the most out of body experience I've ever had. I couldn't explain it. I can't explain it now. But I remember just thinking, the wheels are turning, my legs are running, I'm not even aware it's happening. And I just couldn't stop. And I literally felt like I was floating on a cloud. And I kept going and I kept going. And I was running around these laps, and everyone was like, what has gotten into you? You're just on a rager. And I was like, I'm literally floating on happiness. And I'm not on a rager. I'm having the best day ever. And it just wouldn't stop. And I ran past, we've had 2 incredible photographers at Why We Run, and I saw them on a bend, and I ran past them, and before I could even think about what I was saying, I took my headphones out, and I went, if this is living, I want to do it every goddamn bloody day. And it just came out, and that has stuck with me ever since. And it's now kind of a motto that I live by, that if I can go to bed at night going, if today was living, I want to do it every goddamn day. And that has stuck with me so hard. And in the context of what we were running for, it was just such a moment for me. And so I got to the end of that day, and I ran over the finish line, and I just said that was one of the best days of my life. And it really was. And for me, if I can help anybody even find a glimmer of that in a 5k, a 10k, however far they want to run, I don't think the ultra runners are the only people deserving of that. Anybody who runs or does anything that is difficult deserves to feel that joy. It's just, for me, ultra running is the perfect place for it, because it brings together all the things that give me that. It gives me nature, it gives me people I love. It's I think, coming to what you said earlier, the difference between road and trail running for me is I can be a kid when I'm trail running. I can hurtle down hills, I can splash around in the mud. It's being a kid. And I think maybe on day 3 of that day, I just thought, I'm going to do this for the kid that thought that she would never run, because I hated running as a kid. And I just remember having a feeling where I thought, I never thought this would be my life, ever thought this would be my life. And the fact it is, and I love it this much, makes me the luckiest person in the world. So I'm going to make the most of it. So I just think, if I can even inject a tiny bit of how excited that makes me feel into anybody else, then I'm job done. But said with that, also pain is there for a reason, suffering is there for a reason, and can pull you through some seriously tricky moments. But
Yeah.
if you can find a way to promise yourself that you accept one as much as the other, then I think it's a bit of a cocktail for a good time.
Hell yeah. Do you know what? I think you've just summed up exactly why I love it. And I've never been able to put my finger on it exactly. The way you just said, and it also flicked Nathan as well. I saw your face then when you said about feeling like a kid. That's it. I think that's it. I think that's it. I've been trying to, like, till I'm blue in the face, explaining to friends and family why I like doing these crazy adventures and challenges and long distances and stuff. It's because I get to run in the mud and fly down hills and have the odd fall and tumble. And I think that's it. I think that's it for me. It's that
Yeah.
freedom, that gratitude of being able to do it, because there's some people who will never be able to do that. And and then I think something that you said there that rings true with me, and I think should definitely be carried forward, is that if you're able to finish your race with, or your run, whatever run it is, with joy, because you said this to me and it stuck with me, then your time and all those PBs and all that other stuff, it kind of falls away, because you don't think about that anymore, because you're thinking about how much joy and how much fun you had. Whereas if you just hold on to that sufferfest mentality the whole way through, then but you don't end up performing the way you wanted to, then you're not going to take away what you should have taken away from that run. You know, the beautiful things that you got to explore. You'll probably go home in a bit of a shit mood and be like, it was all right. You know, I struggled through it and I didn't. But yeah, joy is the way forward. I get it. Like, that's such a good mindset for anybody listening. If Jenn didn't sell it, then just pack your drinks back away and don't even try, because that was it.
Yeah, I think the time thing is definitely the biggest for me. I just think if you finish, change your barometer. I think I always say this when you're doing a race, right? You have 3 goals when you do a race: your A, your B, your C. Your A goal might be finish in a time that you want, finish in a placement that you want, top 5, top 10, whatever it is. Your B goal might be finish in a time, not a place. But for me, when I'm writing my goals, my C goal is always smile at every mile. Like, regardless of what the other 2 are, smile at every mile. Because I just know that if I've got to the end of a race and I've had a smile on my face every mile is 30 goddamn Cheshire Cat smiles, but like, you're just never going to be disappointed. It will never feel like a bad run. You'll never go home feeling like you let yourself down, because all it's taken is for you to just soak it up and just make sure you smile. And I think setting yourself something like that just reminds you, when you are in the pain cave or you're thinking, why the bloody hell am I doing this? It's pissing it down with rain. It's muddy. This was really expensive. I'm not enjoying it. You are enjoying it. Otherwise, you would have actually given up. So, when you get to that next kilometer marker, you haven't given up. So you are enjoying it. So smile about it.
I say that quite a lot as I'm running to pass people on, like, especially dog walkers. I say to them, I fucking paid to do this. I shouldn't be miserable.
That's exactly.
But you're not miserable, are you? Otherwise,
No.
you literally would. You'd ring your wife and you'd get a lift home. You're not miserable. It's just, I think that I'm miserable feeling is almost because we feel like we should. And I think that's where my feelings around suffering come from, is that we often feel like we should be finding it gritty and difficult and miserable, when actually, like, you're just out having a good time.
I love the struggle and the pain, because it just makes finishing feel so much better.
Yeah,
embrace it.
and that's where your joy comes from. So that's where your joy comes from, and someone else's joy will come from a different feeling. So I just think joy is completely subjective, but if you can get to the end of line feeling that that you felt whatever brought you joy, then you're going to go home happy regardless of what happened on the day.
My wife's currently training for the Bigmoose event in April, and we've signed her up for a half marathon. But up until the start of December, she's only run a 5K ever. And obviously, at the start of December, Jenn, we had our last ultras of the year, and she joined the last 6 miles, and she's done 6 miles straight off, and she finished. And I was like, "How do you feel?" She goes, "I feel fine." I said, "See, it's all mindset. You just got to believe in yourself that you're capable of so much more." And now she's going for 5-6 mile runs, and if she goes anything less than 4 miles, she's like devastated that she haven't achieved what she wanted to do. And I'm like, but a couple of weeks ago, that was your limit. It was just 3 miles. I think
That's amazing.
a lot of people have just got to break through that mental barrier that's stopping them.
It's definitely a case of mind over matter. Your wife's going to be one of those people that makes me sick, isn't she, Nathan? One of those people who she ran 6 miles straight off the bat and was like, "Nah." Whereas some people can run that and like never want to run again or are hanging out there that ass. She's going to be one of those people who does her first half marathon in like an insane time. Well,
No, she
regardless of the
thinks she's
time,
about 3
she's
hours.
just going to. Well, yeah, she's just going to smash it. Though. She'll be on the next Why We Run doing 5 days. You watch. She'll be kicking ass.
And I always say this, I have respect for everyone who runs any distance, but my respect for the people who run it in the longer times is astronomical. Because having been at London Marathon and to watch the people that come over the line in that the last hours when it's getting dark, I have the most respect for them out of everyone else on the course.
Well, look at Georgia on day 3, was it? She was out there 14 hours, was it?
Yeah, it's hours on feet. Like that, that is mental resilience in its purest form. So I think anyone should be incredibly, incredibly proud of themselves, regardless of their time, because the challenges are just different in different time brackets.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. And in fact, when we did, you'll know, Nathan, we did the Vogum. So we did run from, what was it, Porthcawl to Penarth with Pegasus. There was a couple of old fellas there who had full Bergens on and full military gear. And they ran the 40 miles. And it was a boiling hot day as well. And I think because Reese, fair play to him, who owns Pegasus Ultra Running, he waits at the finish line until that last person has come across, regardless. And those old guys, I think they were running. Bear in mind, we set off at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. I think they were running till 1 or 2 in the morning, if not more. I think it was like 18 or more hours they were running with full gear on. Again, like you said, for me, they're like the real winners because that is just your body at that point must be at its absolute end. And it's just your mind carrying you. And I mean, they had big Bergens on, like, they were literally, I think they were carrying the equivalent of what the military carry when they go on their proper like tours and stuff. So raising money for heroes and stuff. Insane.
This week, I've been sort of like going through like just run posts on Instagram and stuff, just trying to find normal people doing amazing things. And this one guy's popped up, and he's actually from Cardiff, and he's only been running 1 year. He started and when he was 24 stone, and a couple of weeks ago he finished his 34-mile ultra around the Gower.
What?
So he's gone from nothing,
incredible,
to 34 ultra.
See, this is
4,000 foot of elevation.
That's incredible. Like, and that's why when people say, "Oh, I don't know how you do that. I just couldn't do it." I'm just like, it winds me up because everybody can do it. I said this a bit in the first one. No one's really taught how to run. We all know how to run, but running miles is a mindset, and I think everyone's got it built in them. It's just a case of how much you want it. And something that I've always said is that if you want something that much, you'll find a way to do it. If not, you'll find an excuse. So I think, that's absolutely incredible, and fair play to that guy.
The guy's name is Andrew J. James 79 on Instagram. Go over and just appreciate what he does. He's got balls.
Nice one, Andrew, man. Fair play. That's incredible.
And he's continuing it, and he's going through the trail running way to get up to the distance as well. He's not good doing a lot of road. It's all trail.
Wow.
You can see the difference from his first photo to the photos now, and so like how much weight he's lost as well. And for him to make that change in the first place, that's just gutsy to me.
Well, a legend.
So,
he's got to be one of the people that we have on this show at some point in the near future, then, because that's an inspiring story. So well done, mate. To Andrew.
I found another woman as well who, again, she's quite a big lady. She won't mind me saying this because I've been speaking to her on Instagram. She's called Michelle. She's training for, it's called Cold Water, but it's in Arizona, so it's not very cold, and it's 100 miler.
100 miles.
Wow.
100 miler, yeah.
In Arizona,
different gravy. That is.
Yeah, her Instagram's Waddle Running Lady, but again, she's done 2 ultramarathons this year, Sorry, in 2023 from like nothing.
That's
But again,
incredible. Isn't it?
I'll put their photos up on here when we do the edit after. But
This
you'll
is what
see,
I mean.
it's just ballsy to do.
Well, this it's like everyone. Obviously, we all got like pages and influencers we follow and stuff, like who run amazing. They just think all round, like Nick Pear I spoke about last week. You know, these amazing athletes, and Lewis. You know, people like them. But then there's so
Well,
many people
Jen's up there game on Instagram, wasn't she? With the reels.
Who's that, mate?
Jen.
Oh yeah.
Reels take me longer to make than I've ever trained for any race. I think I could train for 100-miler quicker than I can make a reel.
Exactly the same as me. I spend so much time working at what music I want at the end and all that jazz.
Absolutely agony.
But yeah, we spend so much time looking at these influencers and stuff like that, when actually it's the real people in the background who are just, they put those hours in, they put the work in, and that's the stuff you don't see.
The people doing it in silence.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Incredible. Question for you guys, actually random, that popped into my head, because you said on the day that you felt like you were floating, Jen, you chucked on your music. What music was that in? Because I feel like that song must have helped, whatever it was. Can you think back to what it was?
I think I probably know the answer for this.
So I was listening to a lot of Stereophonics, and I think it might have been Indian Summer.
Oh, okay.
Basically, we had a Why We Run playlist that I just played on repeat the whole time, and then interchangeably put a bit of Hans Zimmer on when I was really kind of in need. But Nathan got me listening to Stereophonics basically the whole week. And then there's three songs that every time I listen to, I basically cry. And it's Fly Like an Eagle, which Nathan will be able to, talk about why. It's I Want to Get Lost with You. What is it? I Want to Get Lost with You? Yeah. And it's Indian Summer. And those three I basically listened to on repeat for the whole week. And even when I listen to them now, I have a bit of a moment. But yeah.
I'm with you on the Fly Like an Eagle. Not to bring the mood down. But yeah, I lost my mate last year to brain cancer. And I did a few charity runs and stuff for him and for the brain tumor charity. When they were bringing his casket out and everything, they played Fly Like an Eagle because he was a massive Stereophonics fan.
Wow.
So that hits home for me. When it was weird, because of all the songs you could have chosen, Nate, when you had that as you were crossing the finish line of the biggest.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I was like, that's mad, because also it all kind of ties in, because Dave Williams, my friend who passed away, he was a mental health nurse. It's really strange.
Wow.
He was very, very, and still is very well respected in that industry. Did a lot of amazing things. I worked with him for a number of years, and yeah, that was his favorite song, I think. And that, and also hearing Enter Sandman by Metallica in a church is a bit of a game changer, and I was there for that. I mean, Metallica in their band, so. But yeah, this has got a lot of meaning in that song, so I can imagine that. Yeah. Wow.
Well, on day 2, when we did the other loop, Jen, what was it called? West Sands, is it?
White Sands loop.
White Sands, that's the one. And it was me, you, Callum, and Steph. We were all running like in that really wild area with the wild horses.
Mm-hmm.
And Fly Like an Eagle actually come in on my headset, and obviously we'd been talking about sort of like why we were actually there, and sort of like the mental health thing. And I was just listening to the words, and it just fitted perfectly for what we were doing there. So I just thought it was like I spoke to Jeff about it. I said, Jeff, I found the song for this, and he's like, oh, what is it? I said, oh, you can listen to it in a couple of days, but it is this song. And yeah, it was just perfect end to the week. Yes. I think
amazing, fair play. Absolutely awesome. And like I said, I'm a big lover of Stereophonics and that song, so yeah, I can see why. Awesome. Do you both listen to music on every run, out of curiosity?
Only on the road.
Yeah, I used to listen to music all the time. I've now, and I kind of recommend this to anyone who's starting out, is that running is an incredible tool. So I personally only use it when I need it now. So I've trained myself to basically do most of my runs without it. there's a couple of benefits in the sense that I can hear my surroundings. B, you actually run easier without music. Generally, if you're going out for an easy run and you stick your favorite tunes in, you're probably not going to run easy because you're having too much of a good time. But also it means that when the going gets really tough, when your music goes in, you can kind of find find an extra gear is the kind of the best way I can put it. That's been an amazing tool that I've learned from my coach Lewis, who taught me that. And so I tend to kind of stick, if I'm racing, my music goes in for the last 10k, and that's when I say that I'm kind of, my blinkers are on and I've got my music in, and that's it. No one's hearing from me or speaking to me for the next hour and a bit, or whatever it is.
Well, did you say you want to use it on the road, Nath? Is that what you said?
Yeah, because I just find road just dull. If I'm on the trails, I have nothing, but roads is just dull.
Yeah.
But going back to October, I don't know if anyone noticed, but I made a point of getting up first every morning and getting the music on just to get everyone going.
Yeah. I know, I would go down because I often was up really early and I'd come down to Nathan and just be sat there alone eating breakfast and listening to music. So that'd be a great time.
With your leg over your head over the corner.
Yeah. Yeah, we made it a morning thing just every day, just for us.
Well, it's like we all know David Goggins, but I've listened to a lot of his stuff. He talks a lot about that because he never ever uses music. And it's just something I wasn't going to talk about it because you brought it up, how you said you chucked your music in. It's such a game changer for some people, but then I think also it's a mentality thing because you're not going to run the same as if you were to chuck in some thrash metal on or hardcore dance as if you had no music on. And something that he said, though, David Goggins, is something like, what are you going to do if your battery was to run out on your phone or your headphones die and you've got nothing and you've been so reliant on that music to push you through? Does that mean that without it, you're not going to be able to perform as well? So I think it's a case of teaching yourself to do it with and without, I think.
Yeah, being comfortable with both. At the end of the day, like, you should run how you enjoy running. Don't do anything if you're not going to enjoy it. Like, I think if you're going out just to run for fun, listen to music however much you like. If you're really training, like if you're training long distance where you're going to have like those moments of like, learning to train with and without music, I think it's just another tool in your toolbox, in the same way that learning how to fuel yourself or how to hydrate or how to whatever, music should just be seen as another bow. What is it? String to your bow. As those other things. But if you're just running for fun and enjoyment, then I don't think you need to worry about it. Listen to stereophonics as much as you like.
Exactly. I love music. I can run without it, but I will admit I love finding new music. I love listening to any kind of music, podcasts, and it's really good to hear different playlists and stuff like that. But I'm mega into it. This I got to share this actually, because I got shared this by a friend this week because I'm a big music lover. I found a friend shared me this website called Brooklyn Vegan. Nothing to do with food or anything, which I thought it might have been at first. It's literally a random website, and it gives you like top 10 genre albums from like last year. So they got top 10 punk and ska, top 10 screamo, country, folk. And I tell you what, I've listened to most of the playlists and I didn't know a single artist. So this week I've found so much new music that I've loved.
Right.
Yeah, that's also, I kind of use that on my longer runs, and I'm like, well, today I'm going to listen to a brand new album. So yeah, I love it.
Keeps it interesting as well.
Yeah,
something new. A long run, it's got hours to pass. Having something new, I think it's kind of it lets the time go by a bit quicker, doesn't it?
Hell yes. I feel like obviously with the time and how long we've been on this already so far, I wanted to touch more on safety for women as well. I mean, I'm a big advocate of that and the shit that women have to put up with basically when they're out there. And I know that you did a little bit with your Tip Tuesday, Jen. I am conscious of time and I don't want to rush through it. So I'm feeling like maybe we do this on the next one. It's up to you.
Yeah,
but
that's fine.
What do you think, Nath? I'd like to talk about it more, but I feel like it's a topic that we could really have a good conversation about, and it's a topic that needs to be had rather than just rushing through it.
Yeah, it makes sense. We could probably get a doc on as well.
That's fine. And if you want to we can make it just a bit more of a female episode in general, can talk, kind of explain to people why running as a female is a bit different in general. We can take it a little bit outside of safety, just for if you've got any female listeners that kind of want to know a bit more, then I'm very happy to do that.
Yeah. I'm 100%. I mean, I had this conversation with Nathan, and I've spoken to my wife about it, about how it is it's so bad, because I get up and go out at 3-4 in the morning, or I'll go out at like 9 o'clock at night or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. And I would be terrified. I'm almost thankful and grateful that my wife isn't into running. She absolutely detests it with every bone in her body. And that's fine. She's into what she's into. If she was to get up at that time in the morning or go out that late at night running, I'd be petrified. I'd be like, I'd have to like have, keeping an eye on her, like just,
which is crazy.
Yeah. And it shouldn't be like
it's
that.
Crazy.
I mean, yes, because it's just the shit that the women have to put up with, and it shouldn't be that way. So the more awareness that we can give around that, and the more help and advice and tips we can give, the better for any female listeners. So
I completely agree.
Banging. Brilliant. Not sure if there's anything else that you guys want to touch on. Is there anything else, Jen, you made notes about, or Nath?
No, I guess there was just your question that you sent me.
Oh yeah. This was a really random one I thought up. So you don't, if you want to give it more thought, unless you already have. But yeah,
it's fine. So do you want to ask your question, or do you want me to?
I don't. Well, it was just a case of knowing what you know now, like right now, with everything we've discussed in your in your journey to become an ultra runner. If you could go back in time, if you had a time machine, and speak to a very different Jen before she was running ultras, what advice would you give yourself back then?
I would just tell her not to rush it. I think when I signed up to that first ultra, like I said earlier, I had that mindset of like, probably never do another one, because the self-doubt that you're going to be capable of doing one. So I think I was convinced that I was going to do one, and I was going to go hard and fast, and I wanted to like perform from the get-go. I wanted like my first ultra to be amazing. I wanted to like bosh the timing, because in my head I was like, I'll maybe not do another one, because at that point I was like, I'll probably never do London Marathon again. Spoiler alert, I then did London Marathon again, and then I ran 9 ultras. Like, I think the message is that like, if you have signed up to do something like an ultra, it's because you enjoy it. And I think it can be quite hard, like along the way, you'll probably forget that you enjoy it, because it's early mornings, late nights, sacrifice nights out with friends, whatever it is. Like, it's a hard work, commitment, and resilience to do an ultra. But the fundamental thing is that you clearly enjoy putting your trainers on, and you clearly enjoy going out and doing it. So if you're doing one, you're probably going to do another. So I think, and every run that you do, every 50K, every marathon, every half marathon, you learn something. You learn something new that makes the next one better. And like, that's why I think Why We Run was so amazing, because I had taken all these things that I'd learned from all the ultras up to it, and I'd applied it every day into Why We Run. I can see now that like for my races this year, I have so much more to learn, so much more to take from them. And I'm going into this year with a very different mindset of like, I don't need to win that distance the first time I do it. I don't need it to be super fast. I just need to do it, enjoy it, and learn from it, and I'll do it again. Yeah. So I think if I could go back, or if I could speak to anyone that's just starting out that thinks like they're going to do their first ultra and they've got to bosh it, there'll be way more to come. You'll do way more. You'll do loads more than you think you're going to do right now. You'll finish that finish line, you'll get the bug, and you'll sign up to something else, because that's exactly what happens. We get addicted to it. So I think I'd just say, don't rush, trust the process, and learn. Like, do the work outside of getting your trainers on and going outside. There's so much to learn about running, and that is about fueling yourself. It is about what kit to wear. It is about all those things that make it safer for you to go out and do it. Like, make it a case of longevity. I think now I'm running for longevity, not times. And I think if you can think about it that way, you're going to take so much more out of it. Because I want to be running ultras in 5 years' time. You know, I want to be running like the guys that Nathan's just talked about. Like, I want to be running 100 miles when no one thinks I'm going to do it. Like, and to do that, you have to think longevity, and you have to take your time and trust the process and do it right. So Yeah, I would go back and I'd just say, take a beat. Because you'll still be here in a year's time. And if I wish I could tell her that she's now going to be sat here coaching other people to do the same thing, I think she'd probably, old Jenn would be laughing in new Jenn's face. But yeah, that's what I would go back and say.
That's a hell of an answer. And I think largely what you said then was something I touched on with Nathan last week about Nick Bear. I don't know if you've checked him out.
I have watched many of his videos over the years.
he's a different animal. His podcast's about enduring the process. That's exactly what you said in a roundabout way. You don't have to do a couch to 5K and then start planning your bad water run. Do you know what I mean? It's about enjoying it and taking your time and soaking it all up, because like you said, you will learn something and you'll suffer. You will inevitably probably pick up injuries and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that's just your body's way of saying that something isn't right and just heal and carry on. But that's amazing. That's awesome. Good.
Right, I've got to ask, what's your top 3 bucket races?
Oh my God, my top 3 bucket races.
Organised races, not actual runs like an FKT, proper races.
I don't think I've ever really thought about this, and I don't know why that is. I think I have to admit, I probably never thought about my dream races out of a place of self-doubt, but I also I like the guessing of getting into the year and being like, what do I want to do? Where do I want to go? I think the incredible thing about ultra running, right, is like, if you want to visit a country, for example, this year I want to go to Slovenia. So I found an ultra marathon in Slovenia and I'm going to do that in June. Like what I love about trail running is like you can pick a place and find an ultra marathon to go and do there. So that's my approach. If I had to have bucket list races, I would love to do a UTMB race. But I have to admit that I'm kind of in the process of testing my why and motivation to do that at the moment, because that is like everyone's goal. So I want to do it purely for the atmosphere rather than the race itself. And part of me's like, I could just pay to go to Chamonix and stand at the finish line and watch everyone else do it, to soak that atmosphere up. So I think that's quite an interesting one. I wish I had an answer for you, because I just haven't thought about it. I would love to do the Rat Race has this incredible event in Patagonia, and I saw that this year, and that's gone on my what I want to do in my 30th year of being alive. So that's probably a bucket list event. I can't remember what they call it, but it just looks out of this world. And Patagonia is a place I've always wanted to go. So I think the way I think about my bucket list is like, where in the world would I just love to go and then do something that I love to do, rather than chasing that bucket list feeling of it being a specific finish line or a vibe that I want to finish.
That's a good way of putting it, because me and my wife went on our honeymoon to Hawaii, and it was the most incredible 3 weeks of our lives. Literally changed our perspective, and we had an opportunity for a little bit there to go out and move out there, and it fell through, unfortunately. But that, for me, I was into my running, but I wasn't into doing the ultras and stuff. I think it was probably, I don't even know if I'd done one, I'm not sure. But either way, if I knew then what I know now, my God, I would love to do an ultra or something. Even
exactly.
Well, we flew into Kona, like when we were leaving.
You need to do an Ironman, Reese.
Well, this is exactly as we were pulling in. There was all these people with bags, and they all had their medals and stuff, and they all looked exhausted but tanned and beaming like Cheshire cats. And I was like, man, I've just missed this. And it was typical, because we missed it by a couple of days. So we could have been in Kona when it was happening. So yeah, that's a very prestigious event. But I'm not sure about the whole triathlon thing. I have to get over the water thing first. Not that I'm scared of it. I'm just not strong.
Not so much the water, is it? It's the bloody sharks.
Well, yeah. It's not really. I'm not afraid of water or open water. It's just I'm not the strongest swimmer, and it's not a case of if over there. There's shit in that water that would kill you. So, but it's just Hawaii. There was we climbed at the highest mountain called Haleakala, and I always wanted to do a run back up there. Like when I'm one of those people that when you drive and you're looking at it and you're going, yeah, I could see this run, and you're just analysing it, like the hills and stuff. So I still haven't got an answer from last week, really, Nate, if I'm being honest. But I did watch an incredible documentary about an ultra run woman called Lucy Bartholomew, and she's from Australia, and she ran
It's
across
incredible.
Australia.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen the one with her dad.
Yes, yes. Lucy's dad is called, isn't it? So that's what I watched, and then I then watched more on Lucy, and actually she did that race across Australia, and it looked unbelievably
Yeah.
brutal. But I've been to Australia a few times. I travelled there for a year. More than 10 years ago, I was definitely not into ultra running then. And again, if only I was, because that's the kind of thing I'd like to do. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it properly, like a huge run like that across America or across Australia or somewhere crazy like that, or Hawaii even. But yeah.
Obviously,
Anyway.
Why We Run will forever be my number one bucket list event, Nathan.
Good answer, Jane.
Obviously, they are Why We Run cuts above the rest. But for me, it's just, yeah, I think as I'm kind of evolving in the space, it's becoming less about finish. I feel less motivated or inclined to cross iconic finish lines than I do to go and have like incredible experiences. And if I can do them with people that I love and enjoy doing it with it, then it's like complete icing on top of the cake. Yes. So yeah, my purpose has changed slightly, I think, in the last year or so.
Yeah, since October, the thought of like doing another race is just nothing. And that's why I suppose I've taken on the coastal path, because it's just it's for you. Yeah. But it's sort of sign up for another race and having that planned start and finish time. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do after this year.
Well, out of curiosity, Why We Run, are they doing exactly the same as what you did last year? Sorry, now this year, like down in West Wales, or have they got any more coming up with plans?
So I don't know how much. Don't know how much I'm allowed to say. But
you're not.
Yes, basically, it will be the same, and it will be just as brilliant, if not more brilliant. But
no,
who knows?
It won't be.
Probably not.
Just because you won't be there playing Fly Like an Eagle.
He probably will be, just while other people cross the finish line. I think there is something really beautiful about Why We Run, in that I think like the way we see it is like once you've done it, you get like alumni, right? We have Why We Run alumni, and I think that's what's really beautiful about it, in that I can bet my bottom dollar that there are people at Why We Run this year that aren't running, that ran it last year, who are just there to see the people that they know cross the finish line and to be there to be involved and to feel the vibe, because that's just exactly what it's about. Like, for example, I'm not running it, I'll be there working it, but I can't wait to be there.
So you can't give anything away about that, can you?
Pardon?
You can't give anything away about that. Can you date, time?
I don't know. Lewis is coming on in a few weeks, and maybe I'll leave it to him.
Yeah,
because this is his. He's, it's his baby, so I don't want to speak for him.
Well, that's even more exciting. So that's really cool. I look forward to that. I can't wait for that. Yeah. Awesome. Well, is there anything else you want to talk about, guys? Or
I suppose we left a cliffhanger last week, didn't we, with my run in Vegas?
Oh, yeah. I'm thankful that you brought that up. Yeah. Come on, tell me more. So,
for my 40th, I spent it in Vegas with the wife, and we went to the Omnia, which is a club in Caesar's Palace, and we were booked to see Martin Garrix. So
huge.
It was wicked night. And before we went in, we got a drink from, it's called the Nun Bar, actually on the casino floor. And the girl behind the bar goes, "Do you want a little something extra in it? Just give you a bit of a kick." And the wife was like, "Yeah, chuck it in." Thinking she was thinking it was another shot. So we drank it, and it was a good like foot high, this cocktail. So we drank it. We had VIP tickets as well. So we walked through the casino, past like the 200 like big queue, gets the red rope, goes to the red rope, feeling like a baller. It's like peasants. So we go in up to the roof terrace, VIP. and we have just a wicked night of clubbing. Left there 5 o'clock in the morning, wide awake. So we go back to the room. I'm like, I can't sleep. So I went to the casino floor for 3 hours gambling because I thought, I'm in Vegas, why not? Come back with $120 up, so that was a winner. Still wide awake. So this is like 9 o'clock the following morning now.
Oh.
So I thought, sod it, I'm going to go for a run. So I ended up running the entire Vegas Strip up to the Stratosphere and back at like 10 o'clock in the morning. It was like 30 degrees. Guess back again, still wide awake. So I just carried on drinking for the rest of the day. So I don't know what she gave me. I don't know if it's legal, but it kept me awake for like 2 days.
I'm thinking not legal.
Yeah,
I'm thinking not legal, probably.
But it was a wicked night. Best night of clubbing ever.
It doesn't sound like she gave you Barocca or something, mate.
No.
I think that she gave you something that definitely.
Yeah, I think I would say like that sounds like exactly what you need on an ultra marathon, but I think it's probably definitely not.
No.
So I'm glad that you're still okay and you're still with us and that your heart is okay, Nathan. To be honest, I'm now more relieved than anything else.
Yeah. I think there's videos of me going live on Instagram, so like walking around Jesus going, yeah, this is amazing.
Oh my days.
Yeah, guys, anyone listening to the podcast, if you happen to be in Vegas when Nathan was in Vegas, you need to look at all the videos and footage on your camera just in case you happen to do Nathan.
Yeah,
and if anyone goes to Vegas and the waitress says, would you like a little something extra? She doesn't give a shot of Jägermeister. Beware, it's probably cocaine or something. Don't say yes to drugs. You were 40, Nathan. Come on, mate. What were you thinking?
No, I've never taken drugs in my life. But Ultra X is doing a race in Vegas. You need to stop in the number first.
Yeah. That would be an amazing race, but what they should do is let every one of those racers, people racing, have one of those extra special drinks and see what happens. Can you imagine the carnage?
Yeah.
I can imagine the public liability.
Yeah. I think we'll have to do a beer mile at some point, won't we?
Yeah, maybe. Well,
beer mile backyard ultra.
Yeah. My goodness. Wow. Okay. No, that was good. I was looking forward to hearing what happened, and that's I'm getting like hangover feelings, you know, like I thought you were gonna say something like you went missing and your wife found you on like a rooftop, like sunburned, like Chris, with just your running trainers on or something.
I was sunburned. It was boiling.
And of course you were.
Yeah, it's boiling. It's come back away. But yeah, it was wicked.
Love it.
Nice. Well, on that note, I think what an episode. That was class. I really enjoyed that, guys. Thank you very much, Jenn, for coming on.
Thank you.
Super inspiring. Awesome journey. Absolute pleasure to get to know you and meet you. And just let's hit the trails at some point, us three, and actually have a run together. And maybe we can do some filming.
We can do a live pod on the run.
Hell yeah. We'll have one of those drinks that Nathan had. And
we'll record 48 hours straight.
in under 5 hours. No, we'll but it's been a great episode. Really enjoyed it. For anybody who listened, I hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks everybody for listening. Really hope you enjoyed it. I know I have. And we'll catch up with you all soon.
Thanks so much, guys.
Welcome to the team, Jenn.
Thank you for having me.